I smiled when my father screamed it. Standing there in my graduation gown, 3,000 people staring, cameras rolling, and I smiled. Because he had no idea what I'd been building for 4 years. But let me back up. My name is Emily Carter. The first time my father told me I ruined his life, I was 9 years old. We were in the kitchen. He was reading the newspaper. I asked if he wanted to see my report card. He didn't look up. "Everything would have been easier without you," he said. Then he turned the page. I remember standing there, holding that paper with all A's, wondering what I'd done wrong. Turns out, it was simple. I existed. We lived in New Jersey. One of those towns where everyone waves at their neighbors and pretends everything's fine. Our house had white siding, trimmed hedges, an American flag on the porch. From the outside, we looked like the kind of family you'd see in a commercial. Inside, though, I learned fast that love came with conditions. My younger brother Ryan got all of it. Football trophies lined the mantel. Family photos centered around him. Mom never missed a game. Dad bought him a car for his 16th birthday. Me? I got a card with $20 in it. Ryan's bedroom was twice the size of mine. He had a flat-screen TV, a gaming setup, new clothes every season. I had a desk I bought at a yard sale and textbooks I borrowed from the library because buying them wasn't in the budget. At dinner, they asked Ryan about his day. About practice. About college scouts. They asked me to pass the salt. By the time I turned 16, Dad stopped pretending. He'd say it in front of Mom, in front of Ryan, in front of anyone. "You were never part of the plan. We would have had more money if it was just the three of us. Your brother actually makes us proud." Mom never defended me. She'd look down at her plate, take another bite, act like she didn't hear anything. "Ryan?" He just shrugged. Sometimes he'd smirk. So I made a decision. I stopped crying in front of them. Stopped asking questions. Stopped trying to earn something they were never going to give me. I got quiet. They thought I'd given up. They were wrong. I started spending every afternoon at the public library. Weekends too. Told them I was studying, which was true, but not for the reasons they assumed. I was planning my escape. Nobody knew. Not my teachers. Not the few friends I had. Definitely not my family. I filled out college applications in silence. Researched scholarships. Wrote essays about overcoming adversity without naming names. And I waited. The acceptance letter arrived on a Tuesday. I was 17. Senior year. 3 months from graduation. I got home before anyone else and checked the mailbox like I did every day. There it was, thick envelope, university logo in the corner, my name printed across the front. Massachusetts. Full scholarship. Housing included. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't call anyone. I walked upstairs, slid the letter inside an old biology textbook, and went back down to start dinner. When Dad got home, he asked what was for dinner. Not how my day was. Not if anything happened at school. What was for dinner? I told him. He nodded and turned on the TV. That night, lying in bed, I realized something. They didn't just ignore me. They'd stopped seeing me as a person at all. Good. Because what I was building required me to be invisible. I started recording conversations. Not every day, just the ones that mattered. My phone tucked in my pocket, voice memo app running. Dad complaining about how much I cost them. Mom agreeing that Ryan deserved the bigger bedroom because he actually contributes. Ryan laughing about how I'd probably end up working at a gas station. I saved every file. Backed them up. Labeled them by date. One night, Dad and I were alone in the living room. He was drinking. I was doing homework at the coffee table. He started talking. Not to me, more like I just happened to be there. You know, your mom wanted to wait, he said. Wasn't ready for kids yet. But I pushed. Thought it'd be good for us. He took another drink. Regretted it pretty much immediately. I didn't look up from my notebook. You hearing me? He asked. Yeah, I said. Good. Maybe you'll understand why things are the way they are. I understood perfectly. And my phone caught every word. By spring, I had 17 recordings. Some short. Some long. All of them proof. Then something strange happened. My aunt, Dad's sister, stopped by one afternoon. She lived 2 hours away, rarely visited. But there she was, sitting in our kitchen, drinking coffee with Mom. I came downstairs for water. She looked at me differently than usual. Not with pity. With something else. Curiosity, maybe. You're graduating soon, she said. Yeah. College plans? Mom cut in before I could answer. She's still figuring it out. My aunt kept her eyes on me. Smart girl like you? I'm sure you've got options. I just nodded and went back upstairs. But I felt her watching me leave. Later that week, I got an email. From a legal advocacy program in New York. Subject line, Student Support Initiative. I almost deleted it. Then I read the first line, we help students document and address long-term familial harm. Someone had referred me. I stared at that email for 20 minutes. Then I hit reply. What would you have done? Comment below. I left for Massachusetts in August with 2 suitcases and a bus ticket. Dad didn't help me pack. Mom gave me a hug that lasted 3 seconds. Ryan was at football camp. Nobody cried. I didn't either. The first year, I called home twice. Once on Thanksgiving. Once on Mom's birthday. Both conversations lasted under 5 minutes. They asked if I needed money, I said no. They said Ryan was doing great. I said that's good. Then we ran out of things to say. The second year, I called once. By the third year, they stopped expecting to hear from me at all. Which was exactly what I needed. Sophomore year, fall semester, I responded to that email from the legal advocacy program. They set up a video call. A woman named Ms. Reyna, late 40s, kind eyes, the type who actually listened when you talked. She asked about my family. I told her everything. Showed her the recordings. The journals I'd kept since middle school. Photos where Ryan's birthday parties had full decorations and mine had a grocery store cake. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. How long have you been carrying this alone? She asked. Always, I said. She nodded. You don't have to anymore. That program changed everything. They archived my recordings. Verified dates and locations. Connected me with a legal team that specialized in emotional abuse documentation. Not for a lawsuit, at least not yet. For the record. For proof that what happened to me was real. They told me this process could take years. That building a case like this required patience. I told them I'd been patient my whole life. I could wait a little longer. Junior year, I stopped going home for holidays. Told my parents I had work. Internships. Research projects. All true, technically. They didn't push back. I think they were relieved. Ryan called me once. Said Mom was upset I wasn't coming home for her birthday. Tell her I'm sorry, I said. Are you? He asked. I hung up. Senior year, everything came together. My grades were top of my class. I had 3 grad school offers. The advocacy program had finished compiling my case into a formal report, 63 pages of documented emotional neglect and verbal abuse. They asked if I wanted to take legal action. I said not yet. They asked what I was waiting for. The right moment, I told them. Then I did something I hadn't done in 4 years. I sent my parents a formal graduation invitation. Printed. Mailed. The kind with gold lettering. Mom called the same day it arrived. You want us there? She asked. She sounded surprised. Of course, I said. It's a big day. We'll be there, she said. Your father too. Good, I said. I'm really hoping you both can make it. She paused. You sound different. Do I? Yeah. More confident. I smiled. College does that. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. Pulled up the file labeled Dad, 2016. Pressed play. His voice filled my dorm room. I pressured her to keep the pregnancy. Regretted it pretty much immediately. I closed the laptop. Graduation was 6 weeks away. They were late. Ceremony started at 10. Families filled the stadium by 9:30, finding seats, taking photos, holding signs with their graduate's name. I sat with my class in the folding chairs on the field, cap and gown pressed, hands folded in my lap. Kept checking the entrance. By the time the dean started speaking, I'd accepted they weren't coming. Then I saw them. Dad first. Sunglasses on even though we were under a tent. Hands in his pockets. Mom trailing behind him, purse clutched tight. No Ryan. They found seats in the middle section. Didn't wave. Didn't smile. Just sat down. The dean's voice boomed across the speakers, welcoming everyone, talking about achievement and future and all the things people say at graduations. I wasn't listening. I was watching my father. The way he kept checking his watch. The way Mom leaned over and whispered something that made him shake his head. They didn't want to be here. Good. Names started getting called. Rows of students stood, walked across the stage, shook hands, accepted diplomas. Polite applause after each one. Cameras flashing. Parents cheering. My row stood. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. 5 people ahead of me. 4. 3. Then the dean's voice, Emily Carter. Bachelor of Science. Summa cum laude. I stepped forward. The applause started like it had for everyone else. Scattered clapping. A few cheers from classmates who knew me. I was halfway to the stage when I heard it. A chair scraping. Then my father's voice cut through the stadium like a knife. We wish you were never born. Everything stopped. The dean froze mid-handshake. Students turned in their seats. Parents looked around trying to find who'd shouted. The applause died in seconds. I stopped walking. Turned. My father was standing. Sunglasses off now. Staring straight at me. His face wasn't red. Wasn't twisted in anger. He looked calm. Like he'd been waiting years to say it in front of people who mattered. Mom was pulling at his sleeve, trying to get him to sit, but he shrugged her off. Someone in the crowd gasped. A phone dropped. Whispers spread like wildfire. I stood there, 20 feet from the stage, my name still echoing from the speakers. And I smiled. Not a big smile. Not fake. Just Small. Quiet. Because he had no idea. I turned back around and walked the rest of the way to the stage. Accepted my diploma. Shook the dean's hand. He leaned in close. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I nodded. The cameraman didn't know whether to keep filming. He did anyway. I walked back to my seat. The applause came back slowly, awkward and uncertain, like people weren't sure if they were allowed to clap anymore. I sat down. Folded my hands in my lap again. 2 seats over, a girl I barely knew leaned toward me. "What the hell was that?" "Family," I said. The ceremony kept going. More names. More diplomas. More cheers. I didn't look back at my parents. But I felt it. The stares. The phones pointed our direction. The way people were already texting, already posting, already sharing what they'd just seen. My father thought he'd humiliated me. What he actually did was give me exactly what I needed. Proof. Public. Recorded. After the last name was called, the dean returned to the microphone. "Before we dismiss," he said, "we have one additional announcement." I sat up straighter. This was it. The dean stepped aside. Another man walked onto the stage. Mid-50s. Suit and tie. Briefcase in hand. He tapped the microphone. "My name is Gregory Hale," he said. "I represent the Coalition for Student Advocacy and Family Accountability." Behind me, I heard my father's chair scrape again. But this time, he wasn't standing to shout. He was standing to leave. "Please remain seated," the dean said into his microphone. "This will only take a moment." My father stopped moving. Not because he wanted to. Because every eye in that stadium had turned toward him. Gregory Hale adjusted his glasses and pulled a paper from his briefcase. Each year, he began, our organization partners with universities across the Northeast to recognize students who have demonstrated extraordinary resilience in the face of documented familial hardship. My mom's face went pale. She grabbed Dad's arm, but he didn't sit. Just stood there, frozen. "This year," Hale continued, "we're proud to announce that Emily Carter has been awarded a full graduate fellowship, including tuition, housing, and a living stipend for the next 3 years." The crowd erupted. Real applause this time. Loud. Some people stood. I stayed in my seat, hands still folded. Hale wasn't finished. "This fellowship exists because of a simple truth: some students succeed not because of their families, but despite them." He looked directly at my father. "We created this program because of parents like you." The applause stopped. You could hear people breathing. Dad's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Hale folded the paper and tucked it back into his briefcase. "Congratulations, Emily. We're honored to support your future." He walked off the stage. The dean returned to the microphone, said something about refreshments in the main hall, and dismissed everyone. Students started standing, hugging, laughing, throwing caps in the air. I sat there for another 10 seconds. Then I stood, grabbed my diploma, and started walking toward the exit. That's when I heard her. "Emily. Emily, wait." "Mom." I stopped. Turned around. She was speed walking toward me, Dad a few steps behind her. His face wasn't calm anymore. It was red now. Jaw tight. "What was that?" Mom hissed when she reached me. "What did you do?" "I graduated," I said. "Don't play stupid." "That man. That announcement. You planned this." I tilted my head. "Planned what?" "Getting a fellowship." Dad stepped closer. "You made us look like monsters in front of everyone." I didn't make you do anything, I said. You stood up. You shouted. That was your choice. His hand curled into a fist. Not to hit me, he'd never done that. Just a reflex. A way to remind me he was bigger, stronger, louder. But I didn't flinch. You recorded us, he said. Voice low now. Dangerous. Didn't you? I didn't answer. That's illegal, he said. You can't use that. Actually, I said, New Jersey is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of. And I was part of all of them. Mom looked like she might cry. Why would you do this to us? To you? I repeated. Mom, I didn't do anything to you. I documented what you did to me. There's a difference. We gave you everything, Dad said. I almost laughed. Almost. You gave Ryan everything, I said. You gave me a reason to leave. A campus security officer approached from the side. Mid-30s. Calm expression. Folks, he said gently, we need to keep the aisles clear. If you'd like to continue this conversation, I can direct you to a private area. Dad glared at him. We're leaving. Good, I said. Mom opened her mouth like she wanted to say something else. But Dad was already walking away, and she followed. Always followed. I watched them disappear into the crowd. Watched them leave the stadium. Watched them get into their car and drive off without looking back. The security officer turned to me. You okay? Yeah, I said. I really am. He nodded and walked away. I stood there in my cap and gown, holding my diploma, surrounded by families hugging and laughing and taking photos. Alone. But not the way I used to be. This time, it was my choice. I didn't go to the reception. Instead, I went back to my dorm, changed out of my gown, and opened my laptop. Checked my email. 3 new messages. The first was from Gregory Hale. Subject line, next steps. I opened it. Emily. Congratulations again. Attached you'll find the fellowship paperwork and a timeline for your graduate program start date. Also attached, a summary of today's events and their potential implications. We'll be in touch soon. GH. I clicked the second attachment. It was a PDF. 12 pages. The first page was a photo. My father, mid-shout, standing in the stadium. Someone had captured it perfectly, his face, his posture, the people around him staring. The second page was a transcript of what he'd shouted, time-stamped, with confirmation that it had been recorded by multiple attendees. The third page made my stomach drop. Corporate Notification Report. Recipient, Hillcrest Solutions Incorporated. Employee, Martin Carter, Senior Regional Manager. Date of incident, today's date. Incident type, public conduct unbecoming of company values. I kept reading. The advocacy program hadn't just documented what happened. They'd already sent a formal report to my father's company. The same company that plastered Family First and Integrity in Action all over their website. The same company whose HR director had been sitting in the stadium. 17 rows behind my parents. I sat back in my chair. They'd known. The advocacy program had known exactly who would be there. Had made sure the right people were watching. This wasn't just about a fellowship. It was about consequences. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Linda Ortiz, Hillcrest HR. We need to speak with you regarding an ongoing personnel matter. Please call at your earliest convenience. I stared at the message. They were investigating him. My father, who'd spent 20 years climbing that company ladder, who bragged about his position at every family dinner, who told Ryan he'd get him an internship there after college, was being investigated. Because of me. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. I opened the third email. It was from my aunt. Dad's sister. The one who'd looked at me differently that day in the kitchen. Emily. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry I didn't do more sooner. If you need anything, call me. Aunt Diane. I read it 3 times. Then I closed my laptop and lay down on my bed, staring at the ceiling. My phone kept buzzing. Texts from classmates asking if I was okay. Messages from people I barely knew saying they'd recorded the whole thing, offering to send me copies. One message stood out. From Ryan. What the hell did you do? I typed back, I graduated. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, Dad's freaking out. Says you're trying to ruin his life. I almost responded. Almost explained. Almost told him everything. But I didn't owe him that. So I typed, tell him I said hi. Then I turned my phone off. The sun was setting outside my window. Orange light cutting across the walls. My last night in this dorm. My last night in Massachusetts. Tomorrow, I'd fly to Colorado. Tonight, I'd let them panic. I almost made it out of town without seeing them again. Almost. I was loading my car the next morning, 2 suitcases, a box of books, my laptop bag, when a silver sedan pulled into the parking lot. My parents. I stopped, hand on the trunk, and waited. Dad got out first. No sunglasses this time. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept. Mom stayed in the car. He walked over slowly. Hands in his pockets. The same way he used to walk into my room when I was younger, right before he'd say something that made me feel 2 inches tall. But I wasn't in my childhood bedroom anymore. We need to talk, he said. About what? You know what. His voice was tight. Controlled. You're trying to destroy me. No, I said. I'm just not protecting you anymore. His jaw clenched. That recording. The one from 2016. You can't use that. I already did. My company. Your company, I interrupted, has a problem. And it's not me. It's you. He stepped closer. Not threatening. Desperate. Emily. Whatever you think I did, whatever you think I said, I was frustrated. I was tired. People say things they don't mean. For 10 years? I asked. He didn't answer. You told me I ruined your life when I was 9, I said. You told me you regretted having me when I was 16. You screamed in front of 3,000 people that you wished I was never born. Which part didn't you mean? It wasn't, he stopped. Ran a hand through his hair. It wasn't supposed to go like this. How was it supposed to go? You were supposed to just move on. Graduate. Get a job somewhere. We'd see you on holidays, pretend everything was fine, and you'd never have to apologize, I finished. He looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time in years. What do you want? He asked. Money? I'll pay for grad school. You don't need their fellowship. I'll cover it. I don't want your money. Then what? I picked up the last box and set it in my trunk. Closed it. Turned back to him. I want you to know something, I said quietly. He waited. You spent my whole life making me feel powerless. Like I didn't matter. Like I was nothing. His expression didn't change. So I became someone you can't erase, I said. For 5 seconds, he just stood there. Then he turned and walked back to the car. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't apologize. Didn't look back. Mom was crying in the passenger seat. I could see her shoulders shaking. But she didn't get out either. They drove away. I stood in that parking lot for another minute, keys in my hand, watching their car disappear around the corner. Then I got in mine. And I left too. 2 weeks before graduation, I'd sat in a conference room in Boston with 3 lawyers and Gregory Hale. The walls were glass. You could see the city from the 14th floor. I remember thinking how strange it was, discussing the worst parts of my life while looking at something so clean and bright. "We have enough," one of the lawyers said. Her name was Ms. Brennan. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. 17 recordings. 8 years of journal entries. Testimony from 2 educators who witnessed the treatment. This is solid. Solid for what? I asked. A civil case, she said. Emotional abuse. Negligence. We can establish a pattern of harm that affected your mental health, your education, your development. I looked at Hale. I thought this was just documentation. It started that way, he said. But once we compiled everything, it became clear this was more than documentation. This was evidence. Ms. Brennan slid a folder across the table. We're not talking about a criminal case. This is civil. It's about acknowledgement. Public record. Making sure what happened to you is documented in a way that can't be denied or erased. I opened the folder. The first page was a formal complaint. My name at the top. My parents' names below it. What happens if I file this? I asked. It becomes public record, Ms. Brennan said. Your parents will be notified. They'll have the option to respond, to settle, or to fight it. Either way, it's official. And my father's job? She exchanged a glance with Hale. His company will likely conduct their own investigation, Hale said. Especially given their public values. But that's separate from this case. We're not going after his employment. We're going after the truth. I stared at the papers. At my name. At the section labeled, Pattern of Emotional Abuse and Parental Neglect. How long does this take? I asked. Months, Ms. Brennan said. Maybe a year. Civil cases move slowly. But the filing itself, that happens immediately. Once you sign, it's in motion. I picked up the pen. One more thing, Hale said. We've been in contact with his employer. Not to interfere, just to inform. They asked to be notified if any legal action was taken. Why? Because he's a senior manager, Ms. Brennan said. And this type of case reflects on their brand. They have a right to know if one of their leaders is involved in litigation regarding family harm. I looked at the pen in my hand. Will this hurt him? I asked. Yes, Ms. Brennan said. No hesitation. Good, I said. And I signed. Sitting in my car now, in Colorado, I pulled out my phone and opened the case file. The status had updated. Case hashtag 47821B, Carter vs. Carter. Status, active. Next hearing, date 3 months from now. My father didn't know yet. The papers wouldn't be served for another week. But it was real now. Official. On record. Part of me felt relief. Another part felt something heavier. Not regret. Not guilt. Just the weight of knowing I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I closed the file and started the car. The case would take months. But I'd already won something they could never take back. My voice. The first article appeared 3 days after graduation. Local paper. Small circulation. But it was there. Graduation disrupted, parents' outburst goes viral. They didn't use my name. Didn't use my father's either. Just a local family and an unidentified student. But people knew. By the end of the week, it had spread. Campus blog picked it up. Then a regional news site. Then someone on social media with 200,000 followers shared the video. My father, standing in that stadium, shouting. Me, smiling. The comments section was exactly what you'd expect. Half the people called me brave. The other half said I was vindictive. A few said we were both wrong. I didn't read past the first page. 10 days after graduation, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Emily? I knew the voice immediately. Ryan. Yeah, I said. Are you okay? I almost laughed. Am I okay? He paused. I saw the video. Everyone saw the video. Good. Silence on his end. Dad's in trouble, he said finally. At work. They put him on leave. Mom's barely leaving her room. And now there's this lawsuit thing. Civil case, I corrected. Same thing. It's not. He exhaled hard. Why are you doing this? You really don't know? I know Dad was hard on you. But this? You're trying to ruin him. I'm not trying to ruin him, I said. I'm trying to make sure what he did to me doesn't just disappear because it's easier for everyone to forget. He's my dad, Emily. He's my dad too, I said. And he told me he wished I was never born. In front of 3,000 people. So yeah, Ryan. I'm doing this. Another pause. Were you ever going to tell me? He asked. About the recordings? The case? Any of it? Why would I? Because I'm your brother. Are you? I asked. Because you sat at that dinner table and watched him tear me apart for years. You laughed when he made jokes about me. You never once asked if I was okay. I was a kid. So was I said. He didn't respond. If you're calling to ask me to drop the case, I said, the answer is no. I'm not, he said quietly. I wanted to hear your side. That surprised me. Why? I asked. Because Mom keeps saying you're lying. That you made everything up. But I remember things too. And I don't think you're lying. I sat down on the edge of my bed. What do you remember? I asked. Your 9th birthday, he said. Dad forgot. You waited all day for him to say something. He never did. I'd forgotten that. Or maybe I just buried it with everything else. There's more, Ryan said. A lot more. I didn't think it mattered. It did, I said. I know that now. We sat in silence for a long moment. I'm not asking you to forgive them, he said. But are you ever coming back? To New Jersey? Yeah. No, I said. I'm not. He didn't argue. Take care of yourself, Emily. You too, I said. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the wall. Ryan wasn't the villain in this story. He was just the kid who got loved while I didn't. And maybe that wasn't his fault. But it didn't change anything either. 6 months later, I got the call. I was sitting in a coffee shop near campus in Colorado, halfway through a research paper, when my phone buzzed. Miss Brennan. Emily, she said when I answered. We need to talk about the settlement offer. I closed my laptop. What settlement? Your father's legal team reached out. They want to resolve this outside of court. Resolve it how? They're offering compensation. $50,000. In exchange, you'd sign a non-disclosure agreement and withdraw the case. I didn't say anything. Emily? I'm here, I said. Just processing. It's a significant amount, she said. Enough to cover grad school expenses, living costs, and then some. And it would end this now. No more hearings. No more depositions. Just done. And the NDA? Standard. You wouldn't be able to discuss the case publicly or share any details about the settlement. The recordings would remain private. The case would be sealed. I stared out the window. Students walking by. Laughing. Carrying textbooks. Living normal lives. What do you think I should do? I asked. That's not my call, Miss Brennan said. But I will say this, if you take the settlement, you get financial security and closure. If you don't, we go to court. It'll be public. It'll be exhausting. And there's no guarantee you'll get more than what they're offering now. But the case would stay on record, I said. Yes, she said. Public record. Permanent. I thought about my father. About him sitting in some office with his lawyers, writing that check, thinking he could buy his way out of accountability. Just like he'd tried to buy my silence my entire life. Tell them no, I said. Ms. Brennan paused. You're sure? I'm sure. Can I ask why? Because this was never about money, I said. It was about making sure what happened to me is real. Documented. Something that can't be erased or hidden or paid off. She was quiet for a moment. Okay, she said. I'll let them know. We hung up. 2 weeks later, I got another call. This time from Mom. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Emily, she said. Her voice was small. Tired. Hi, Mom. I heard you turned down the settlement. I did. Why? I leaned back in my chair. Because apologizing costs nothing. A settlement costs $50,000. There's a difference. She didn't respond right away. I'm sorry, she said finally. For what? For not stopping him. For letting it happen. For all of it. I wanted to feel something. Relief. Anger. Satisfaction. But I just felt empty. Okay, I said. That's it? She asked. Just okay? What do you want me to say, Mom? That I forgive you? That we can start over? I don't know, she said. Maybe. I can't do that, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She started crying. Quiet. Restrained. I understand, she said. Do you? I asked. I'm trying to. We sat in silence for a long time. Just breathing on opposite ends of the phone. I have to go, I said eventually. Will you call again? She asked. I don't know, I said. And I meant it. I hung up. That afternoon, I walked to class. Sat in the front row. Took notes. Participated in discussion. After class, I went to the library. Worked on my thesis. Met with my advisor. Made plans for next semester. I didn't think about my parents. Didn't check my phone for messages. Didn't wonder what they were doing or feeling or saying about me. For the first time in my life, I was just living. Not surviving. Not planning. Not hiding. Living. They spent years making me feel powerless. I spent years proving they were wrong. Some people call it revenge. I call it becoming who I was supposed to be all along. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when families realize the truth too late.